want winners. I want people that want to win.
That was the great Mike Singletary with a classic soundbite. And just like he says, we want winners here on the Film Grinders podcast. Welcome back, guys. Today, we're going over free agency and 5 specific teams that we think won the free agency period. I'm Nicholas Hauke here with David Hollinshead. Dave, are you feeling like a winner today?
Nick, I'm always feeling like a winner. No Mike Winchell curse vibes over here. We're all feeling like winners. How are you feeling? You feeling like a winner today, Nick?
Dave, do you know what it means to be perfect?
You know what it feels like to be cursed? When we're winning, it's there. When we're losing, it's there. I've never related to anything more in my life, I swear to God.
You know how you win the game is you gave the ball to Booby.
Yeah, except for he don't lift, and then he hurts himself.
Nobody's perfect. But anyway, no one I don't think was perfect in free agency, but we have some teams that we think had good process, did a good job. Dave, this is kind of a weird free agency period. Not a ton of big names for teams to sign, players that will make your team better, but no one that's going to change the face of your franchise. So again, I don't want to say boring, but definitely not a crazy free agency period at all as compared to years past. But again, there's some teams that definitely made their teams better.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a bit of a weaker free agency class. And I think part of that has to do with the cap going up. So teams are able to retain their talent a lot more easily. And I think you see that with a lot of it. I mean, we were looking at Ronnie Stanley potentially hitting free agency. He gets re-upped. You don't see Trey Smith. He re-ups as well. And you don't usually see like the huge receivers or tackles or QBs hit the free agent market anymore, especially with the increase in cap pretty much year after year at this point. So teams are just re-upping their guys a lot more easily. And I think that's going to be a trend that we see going forward.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. So let's not waste any more time. We'll get right into the list. The number 5 winner, Dave.
The number 5 winner, we agreed, is the Indianapolis Colts. Now, they don't have any exciting, huge signings, as many teams do not, but they made quite a few solid both starters and depth piece signings. Cameron Bynum can play pretty much anywhere in your secondary. He's locked down kind of as a safety, but can easily play a nickel as well, can play free, can play strong. He signed a 4-year, $60 million. I think a lot of these contracts, as we're going to kind of go through it, seem a little pricey. But with the increased cap, it being a weaker free agency period, you're going to see a lot more money spent. I thought that was a solid signing. Shavarius Ward, he needed a change. He just needed a fresh start somewhere. 3-year, $60 million as well. Solid corner. He's going to start for them right away. And I actually really like the Neville Gallimore signing on the D-line. He can kind of play anywhere on the front there as well. And Khalil Herbert as well to back up Jonathan Taylor. Not a bad signing. And actually, my favorite signing that the Colts made was Daniel Jones on a 1-year deal. 1 year kind of prove it. I'm not high on Anthony Richardson at all. If you were listening to our No Guarantees podcast, you would probably pick that up. So I think this is a low risk, high reward thing where you have a guy come in who could at least push Richardson. And best case scenario, he takes over and he has a resurgence in his career, a la Sam Darnold. So I think this is a pretty good class. What do you think?
Yeah, on the Richardson thing, I'm obviously a lot higher on him than you, but I think this is a good signing, right? That gives you that insurance. He hasn't proven it yet. I think he has all the tools, but he's been far too inconsistent. There's been lots of things going on with him on the field that haven't looked good at times. Then he'll make an unreal throw and he kind of gives you that hope. So if he can't come into his own, this is going to be really his sophomore year because he missed probably all of his rookie year. He played 3 or 4 games, right? So if he can't prove it, there's your insurance policy. It's a 1-year deal. You're off of that cap hit very quickly. I think it's a good signing. Neville Gallimore had a really solid year, really underrated, really important on the interior of the defensive line. And he wasn't making any highlight reel plays, really. He made 1 or 2, but just a solid piece there. You need to be good, have good depth in the interior, and they already have a little bit of that, right, with DeForest Buckner. They also have Grover Stewart, who's a very good defensive tackle there. So now you have some good depth, good rotation, much needed. Chardavius Ward is a really good corner. It was so unfortunate what was going on with him in San Francisco, and I think it was very difficult for him to play to the level he's used to playing at with all that going on. I don't know how you really could. Very unfortunate loss for him. So I think change of scenery might do him a lot of good, and maybe he can return to form. And I think he can. I think he's a really underrated corner in this league, kind of part of that very good quality corner that can do abundance of things for you, really versatile in the secondary. And then Cam Bynum, love this guy in Minnesota. He was such a staple of the Brian Flores pressure scheme, especially on second and third downs, being able to cover guys one-on-one in the slot, being able to play high safety, just so versatile. The Gus Bradley days are over in Indianapolis. That might have been their best move, is getting rid of him. You're not going to see that really vanilla defense, spot drop cover 3 with a couple of variants here and there with no blitzing, a lack of stunts and stuff like that. Like, this is going to be a different system. So adding these versatile pieces, really big for them. I like what I'm seeing here. I don't think the contracts are egregious at all. And yeah, I think you gotta like what the Colts did here. Very smart by them.
Great.
All right, on to number 4, Dave.
Number 4, we got the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, Sam Darnold was a Cinderella underdog story, and that was fun to watch for, 19 weeks until the playoffs hit, and that went south. But they've really made a lot of moves to kind of build around J.J. McCarthy and make what his redshirt freshman season, if we want to call it that, a little as easy as possible. They brought back Aaron Jones, which he's been solid. He's just a great workhorse in the backfield. They also traded for Jordan Mason, who's a good up-and-comer, had a crazy good year in San Francisco. And I think when Aaron Jones starts to slow down and Jordan Mason continues on the rise, he's going to be a great running back for them. They also spent a lot of money on their offensive line, bringing in Will Freeze, 5-year, $88 million. I'm not mad about it. You gotta win through the trenches, especially when you're playing in a division with Detroit, who loves to come after you, and going after Ryan Kelly as well on a 2-year deal. Let's just make this rookie basically his life a lot easier. I also don't mind that they signed guys like Javon Hargrave, bringing back Byron Murphy, taking a flyer on Jeff Okudah. When you're a good team, you can take flyers on former top 10 picks and hope that they pan out. And if they don't, it's a 1-year whatever deal. It's not going to kill you. So I think Minnesota's going to return to form as they were last year. And I think they just got a little bit better.
I really like what the Vikings did. Solid signings, no world-beating signings or anything like that. But again, like bringing Jonathan Allen in, who is still a really good player. He got hurt for the Commanders, came back for the playoffs with I believe it was a torn pec, right? And still was really good in the playoffs for them, despite that injury, which takes away all your power. So being able to recover from that and rehab properly, I think he's set to have a pretty good return year for them, as well as having Javon Hargrave, who again took a little bit of a step back last year, but again, the defense he was part of was such a mess, right? So I think getting back for a team that kind of has it together on that side of the ball, I'm sure Brian Flores is excited to have him at the helm. Having those 2 interior guys will help in stopping the run, which puts teams in passing situations, and that's where Flores thrives, right? In those second and third and longs where you can get after the passer in his pressure fronts. So good signing, okay depth pieces with Jeff Okudah. Like Rondell Moore as a receiver. I think he's pretty underrated. I think that's a pretty solid signing. Tim Jones, former Jaguar, great gunner on special teams. Underrated signing there. You gotta love the special teams there. And yeah, with the interior of the line, and bringing back key pieces in Harrison Smith, Byron Murphy, Aaron Jones. Good process. I like it. Not going and paying anyone crazy money and just continuing to try to get better after that kind of out of nowhere great season. So good process by them. Got to be excited if you're a Vikings fan.
I couldn't agree more. I think they're going to be right back where they were, assuming J.J. McCarthy pans out right, develops properly. They'll make another run.
One thing I would say for them is your backup quarterback is Brett Rippon. Is that a sufficient backup when you have a rookie quarterback pretty much, as J.J. McCarthy missed his whole rookie season? Is that a sufficient backup for your team. So maybe the one piece here that's missing from this team's free agency period is having that veteran guy to come in and help support and help push him and help him grow as a player. So that is the one thing I think they're definitely missing. So that's why they're at number 4 and not higher up this list. Otherwise, very good by the Vikings. As we film this on Friday, I'm sure that'll change eventually. I don't think you go into the season with Brett Rippon as your number 2.
I mean, with the rumors with Aaron Rodgers maybe wanting to go to Minnesota, maybe you just have a new starter.
That would be, filling out the Brett Favre.
Taking the Brett Favre passport.
Wouldn't that be wild? Man, anyway, moving on to the number 3 team on our free agency list, Dave.
Number 3, we got the Denver Broncos. So they haven't signed as many players as some other teams have, but it moved the needle for me. They brought in Evan Ingram, who I think is a great tight end and will just and we say this so much, but when you do have a young QB, you want to make his life, or at least a inexperienced QB, you want to make his life as easy as possible. And I think Evan Ingram being that outlet, that release outlet for Bo Nix will be it's a good get, right? And they brought in a lot of good veteran, great even defensive players. Dre Greenlaw, he's still just a great solid linebacker. Hafanga, safety, 3-year deal. That really upgrades your secondary as well. Just bringing in and DJ Jones obviously coming back, so you're making the re-signings happen. Bringing back Jared Studham. He's one of the best backups in the league. I don't know. I fell in love with him at Auburn. I don't know. I watched one game of him and I was like, I love this guy. And when the Patriots had him, I was really stoked on him. I kind of wanted him to start over Cam Newton that year. But they took a much more, where some teams took a shotgun approach to their free agency. I think they took more of a sniper approach. They knew exactly who they wanted. They went and got them. They didn't overspend. They didn't break in. And they're coming off of cap hell after Russell Wilson as well. They sniped the guys that they wanted. They got who they wanted. And I think that they can take a step up. Maybe contend against the Chiefs for the AFC West.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy to say after 2 years ago with the Russell Wilson era. But yeah, this is a team that's in the right direction, building under Sean Payton. I like all of these signings. Again, Drake Greenlaw played, I believe, 33 snaps last season because of that wacky injury in the Super Bowl, which was so unfortunate. He played 34 snaps last season, right? And then the Niners shut him down when they were eliminated from the playoffs. I think this guy could have a big bounce back year. He was so good alongside Fred Warner prior to that injury and was one of the big reasons the Niners defense was so solid that season, especially against the run. So that's a great addition for you. You lose Cody Barton, but you get Greenlaw, which if he can return even to like 75% of what he is, that's a big upgrade. Evan Ingram, that security blanket for Bo, especially with the style of quarterback that Bo Nix is. He's not really a guy that's pushing the ball down the field that much. He's capable of doing it, but that's not his game, right? He's working into that short to intermediate range, which Sean Payton likes to do anyway. Ingram's the perfect target for him. He's really good after the catch. As a Jags fan, I love this guy. I'm really sad that we lost him. I understand why, but this is a great locker room guy too. After that cheap shot against the Titans, Ingram was the first guy in there throwing him around, right? So good locker room guy. The one thing I will say, I like every move they made. I think the Hufanga move is a really big overpay. That's my one critique of this. He is a true box safety. He does not offer you a lot in coverage, in my opinion. He's kind of that old school, like Jamal Adams, I'm in the box, this is what I do well. And there's still value in that, despite today's game changing quite a bit. I just wonder if 3 years, $45 million is a little bit too hefty of a price tag for what he brings to your team. But other than that, I like what they did. I think the Broncos front office should be very happy with what they've done this offseason and continuing to build around Bo Nix and a really solid defensive unit. Number 2 winner, Dave.
Number 2, we got the Chicago Bears. We're going back to the NFC North. I like what they did on the O-line. I think everyone and their mother knows exactly what they've done on the O-line. But I really appreciate them bringing in an offensive head coach who can work with Caleb Williams. And the first thing he doesn't go outside or trade for a big receiver. He doesn't bring in overpay on a running back that's going to decline in 2 years. He wants to build in the trenches, and I really can appreciate that. Obviously trading for Joe Thuney, trading for Jonah Jackson, signing Drew Dahlman. You really just upgraded the interior of that O-line, which is exactly what Caleb Williams needs. He can sit in the pocket now and maybe not bail from the pocket as soon as things start to get a little hectic. He'll have that protection around him. And then they made some good depth signings like Deo Odeyingbo. Solid edge. Just solid edge. He's not going to put up 15 sacks a year, but he's the kind of player that you get in this class of free agency. Grady Jarrett as well. Solid defensive lineman. So you're really building outside or inside out, which is, I think, the right way to build your team. I really like what they're doing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think with Ben Johnson, when he was in Detroit, the reason their offense was so good is, yes, he is a very good play caller. Everything they do makes sense, right? Every player truly has a role in what they do. Amon-Ra was really working that 10 to 15 yards outside and inside the hashes, right? Like he's that typical slot working in certain areas, doing what he does so well, getting open in that area. Then you had the vertical threat of Jameson Williams accompanying that and working off of each other. Everything just made sense. And so obviously he has that, but the Lions always had a really good offensive line, so they could run the ball with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. This is what he's doing, right? He has a model that he likes. He's going out of his way to create it again, and I love it. This is great process by them. I really like all of these signings. The one I do not like, okay, is Grady Jarrett.
Oh,
This automatically, for me, prevents this from being the number one team in free agency. Other than that, I love what they're doing. Grady Jarrett took a massive step back last year. He's a big defensive tackle who is aging and is not as disruptive as he used to be. You just signed him to 3 years, $43 million, right? I don't love that. If he has 3 years in him still, this isn't Grady Jarrett from before. This is not the same player anymore. Grady Jarrett is 31 years old. 31. And like looking at his PFF grades, and again, like these aren't the be all end all. I have my questions about their grades from occasion, but 71st and 97th for overall grade and pass rush grade. That's a lot of money to dish out for this guy. And when you watch the film, he's not as disruptive as he used to be. So I think that's a huge overpay and a bad contract. But that's their one move that I question. Everything else makes sense to me, and I like it.
So looking at the details of that contract, it's really just a 2-year deal. You'll have very little dead money for the third year. So does that make it a little more palpable for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I still don't
think
like
that's what
it.
you're going to see with a lot of these contracts is that especially for aging guys like him, none of them are going to be like fully guaranteed. They're going to be very front loaded and with an out after year 1 or year 2.
We'll see. Like it's not gonna just like get them stuck with the cap, right? I question that move, but again, like when you're hitting on like what 7 out of 8, that's an A.
Okay.
It's still an A. So that's just my one bit of critique because I'm always a glass half empty guy because I'm just the inner nihilist in me. But anyway, moving on, Dave, to number 1.
Why do I feel like we're going to spend an hour on this team?
Well, they made a lot of moves.
That's true. So number 1, we have my New England Patriots, and boy, am I happy about so many of these signings. I'm very excited as a Patriots fan. Finally, we brought in Mike Vrabel, who was probably the right guy last year and who I wanted last year. Mike Vrabel makes all these signings so much better in my eyes. They brought in 16 guys, of which 10 of them are probably going to be starters and or prominent role players. You bring in Morgan Moses. Our tackles have been so gosh darn terrible since Brady left. Since before Brady left, honestly. You brought in Morgan Moses. Thank goodness. He's just a great locker room guy. Will probably end up being a captain. Wes Schweitzer, great depth piece. We need depth on our O-line. None of our guards that we seem to like drafting in the third round are panning out. Garrett Bradbury's their new starting center. He's fine. He's a solid NFL starter, which is honestly, again, better than what we've had in the past. Sorry, David Andrews, but he missed a lot of last year, and we had to put guards in at center, which went absolutely terribly. So sorry for you, Drake May. And obviously, the big splash signing they made was Milton Williams, who they just stole from Carolina. I woke up that morning, I saw on the Twitter machine that he had signed with Carolina, and I was like, everything sucks. I'm miserable. Go back to sleep. Wake back up. Actually, signs with the Patriots. Booyah. Between him and Christian Barmore, that's an insane pressure front, right? They bring in Harold Landry, who of course has familiarity with Mike Vrabel and was his most productive under Vrabel. Is he the same guy that he used to be? Maybe not, but it definitely not. But if anyone can get an extra 2 years out of him, it's going to be Vrabel in this front. Robert Spillane plays with his hair on fire. Great linebacker. Again, played his rookie season with Vrabel. Played with Josh McDaniels in his last year in Vegas. Could probably end up being a captain. Love the Carlton Davis signing. I think that's probably one of the best top two corners in the league, top cornerback tandem in the league with Gonzalez and Davis. And Marcus Epps can be your middle of the field at free safety, and you can keep Duggar and Peppers near the line of scrimmage or in the box where they kind of belong. And of course, the signing you hate and we're going to get in a big argument about, I'm sure, in about 10 seconds, Stefon Diggs.
Yeah.
Our receiver room has been so terrible. You don't understand. Our receiver room has been so terrible. So bringing him in on that deal, you have a professional. You have a grown-up in the room. And that's all I can ask at this point. And they tried after Godwin. They tried after Kupp. You didn't get him. You got the best thing that was available, the best guy that was available. I love that signing too. Vrabel said that he was probably going to turn over about half the roster. Well, he's turning over about half the roster. I'm very excited. A+. I don't give a 2.
Okay, I'm going to give it an A, and we'll get into the Diggs thing in a second. Before that, I really like a lot of the moves they made. I question the Harold Landry signing for me. I kind of go, did you need to give him that much money? This is a guy that is not the same player, and honestly, I think has been overrated for a big part of his career. If you look at the way he gets sacks, it's kind of effort-wise. He doesn't really win one-on-one on the edge very much, but again,
No,
like
they're all
Mike
clean-up
Vrabel,
sacks.
yeah, Mike Vrabel knows how to use him. So, and you had the money to do this. It's 3-year deal, whatever. Like I think that's a lot. That's way too much money, but whatever.
So again, it's a 2-year deal. 3rd year is kind of a whatever year.
Yeah. I feel like you could have got him for less. But anyways, I like everything else, right? That and the Diggs move. We'll talk about the Diggs move in a sec. Love bringing in Morgan Moses. Robert Spillane is going to be just incredible for you guys in the middle. He's a leader in the locker room, apparently in Vegas from reports, right? Like this guy can just play ball too. He's a great inside linebacker, versatile enough in coverage, great at stopping the run. I really like his game. And I like some of the depth moves you guys made, right? Like you mentioned Epps. I think that's a good signing. I like Cyrus Tonga. Re-signing Christian Ellis is a good move. Kaylavon Chason is a sneaky signing for you guys. 1 year, $5 million. Kaylavon was terrible in Jacksonville, right? I saw him all the time. He couldn't get on the field, mostly due to drafting Trayvon Walker and having Josh Hines Allen on the team. Couldn't really find a spot. Goes to Las Vegas last year. Really starts to come into his own as a situational pass rusher. One of the knocks I had him off of college is this guy just did not have a consistent rush plan at all. It was just all athleticism. He's starting to develop that, and he's a really good second and third and long guy to bring in to get after the passer with his speed rush. He causes issues. He has good hand usage now and has the great hips to turn the corner. He had a career high in sacks last year. That's a really underrated signing for you guys. And I think I'm going to give you guys an A here because I think I don't think you guys did not have a good team last year. It's very apparent. You brought in a lot of players that are going to make your team better. So this is an A. Now let's talk about Stefon Diggs.
Before we move on to Stefon Diggs, because that's going to take up the bulk of this episode, I'm sure. I really like Chason as well. He's only 25.
Yep.
He's still developing. So he comes in on that. Yeah. Vrabel had this quote that free agents only care about either security and money or opportunity. And this is an opportunity for him to come in on a 1 year. If he lights the world on fire, you're going to get paid next year by, if not us, by somebody else. Somebody else that we signed that isn't listed, and I do have it written down, but now that I've kind of moved to the computer, I'm looking at that more, was Jack Gibbons. another guy who was solid in Tennessee, another guy Vrabel knows. You bring between him, Spillane, and apparently we're very high on Christian Ellis to have overpaid him to keep him from going to Vegas. You felt the need to cut Jawan Bentley this morning, who has been a captain and a very solid linebacker. Doesn't really fit the Vrabel scheme, though, and I'm sure guys like Jelani Tavai also are on their way out. So between all those guys, that's a very solid front seven. I'm
I'd
very
agree.
stoked on that.
Yeah,
Okay,
Vrabel
we can
knows
move on to
defense,
the
right? So
yeah.
yeah, and Matt Collins and everything. Yeah, no, I like it. I like it. Here's my hot take for you guys. All right, I think by the end of the year, Kaylavon Chason will be starting over Harold Landry.
Lukewarm take. Lukewarm.
I mean, when you pay a guy that much money. But anyway, let's get to the elephant in the room. Stefon Diggs.
Yeah.
I'll give you my perspective first. Let's see your rebuttal.
Yeah.
Stefon Diggs, from reports, right? And kind of you can hear it in the way Josh Allen talks about the Bills receiving room this year as compared to years past. This is a guy that has issues in the locker room, reportedly, right? This is a guy that has problems. He, from what we've heard, is kind of your typical diva wide receiver one. And it was fine for years because he was that guy. He really was. He was a great player. He had already lost a step prior to his ACL injury. He's probably going to lose another step. I didn't think he looked very good with the Texans last year. I thought he looked above replacement level at best. Now you're giving this guy all this money who, when you're restarting a franchise, like the Patriots are right now. This is the rebirth. This is a new generation. We're well past the Brady days, obviously. They're trying to rebuild and become a contender again. You're trying to build the locker room culture. You talked about having a grown-up Dave in the locker room. Just because this guy's old doesn't mean he's a grown-up necessarily, right? It could really be in the opposite. I think this is a bad deal for them, not just because of his play. I don't think this guy's going to be good for the room. Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to address all your little concerns with this Stefon Diggs thing. And I'm not going to lie, I get it from an outsider's perspective. But for me, one, the locker room issue. So he's been a captain everywhere he's gone, right? I think that the problems outside the locker room are extremely overblown. From actually most reports, including reports from the Texans, he was a great guy in the locker room. Everybody loved him. Everyone enjoyed having him around. And the fallout with Josh Allen, we're all adults, right? We have arguments. Sometimes we have falling out with friends, family. It happens. And it wasn't really him driving the narrative of the falling out. It was everyone else. Even his brother was like yapping off in Dallas about, oh, Stefon needs to get out of there, blah, blah, blah. And every time he got asked about it, he's like, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to go to work. And you can say that helps fuel it because being ambivalent and being kind of dismissive doesn't exactly put the questions to bed. But I think that is a fine way to deal with it. It's fine. It's not my favorite way to deal with it, but it's fine. So he leaves. It's whatever. And you look at his stats, right? So I think when he went, he's obviously on the decline. There's no question about that. He's not the same separator, three areas of the field threat that he used to be. But I think with Houston, they moved his average yards per target went from 14 in Buffalo to 10 in Houston. So I don't think he was asked even to be that field stretcher like he used to be. His stats were still on pace for 100 catches. His stats were still on pace for 1,000 yards again, which he's had pretty much ever since he came in the league. I think his first 2 years, maybe he almost eclipsed it, but not quite. We haven't had 1,000-yard receiver or 100-catch receiver since Julian Edelman 6 years ago. And you want to talk about grown-ups in the room? We had Jalen Polk and Javon Baker whining on the bench. So it's not like we're getting any worse. If our personality in the receiver room remains the same, then fine. At least we have a guy who can produce with 100 catches and while he's whining about it. And if his whole whining is feed me the ball, he's going to get catches because who else are we throwing to? Matt Collins? Pop Douglas? No. Kendrick Bourne? Again, absolutely not. He will get fed the ball, and he has that capacity to be a high volume target, which we don't have. And what receiver who's top 10 in the league, which Maybe again last year he wasn't, or maybe the past 2 years he maybe wasn't. But what receiver who's in the top 15 even isn't a diva? Like
Devontae Smith. He's rare though. He is really one of a kind. So
exactly, you get those one of a kind guys, but AJ Brown is a problem. Did you think the same of Randy Moss when he was going to retire because he hated his situation in Oakland? Keyshawn Johnson wrote a whole book on "Give Me the Damn Ball." Receivers are divas. That's just who they are. You are a quarterback. You know this. Receivers
I
bitch
know.
and whine because they want the ball every friggin' play.
I know. I have one on my flag team right now.
If only one. If I know your team. If only one.
Yeah. So I get what you're
And the
saying.
last thing I'll say before you jump back in is on the contract. Again, it says a 3-year deal. It's really a 2-year deal with an out after year one. So low risk again, high reward. We have a receiver.
Okay. Let's put everything in the locker room aside because we're not there. We don't know, right? We always hear all of this stuff. You really don't know unless you're in the room, right? A lot of the stuff doesn't come out. That's the reality. So I'm just going to talk about his play. I saw a bit of him, right? Like, I'm a Jags fan. So unlike a lot of people, I actually watched the AFC South. I know it wasn't great last year to watch. He does not look like the same player. I am very concerned coming off the ACL. You talked about him being a 3-level separator. I don't think that's going to be a reality anymore. I think if he's going to function, he's going to probably be, what do you think, a slot that works from the, like, maybe, I don't know, like 5 to 10 yard range. And that is valuable. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of players that make a career out of it. And yet, as you said, you can get out of the contract after year one and stuff like that. With kind of that diva attitude that he has, because that's how you make it as a receiver, right? As we said, I know I just said, oh, you don't want that in the room. That you are right. That is kind of the reality, right, of being a receiver. Do you still want a guy that's declining that much to have that attitude and kind of be a distraction for a young quarterback like Drake May? Is that what you want? Because if he's crying for the ball over and over again and he's catching the ball for 10 yards a clip and maybe putting up 50 receiving yards a game, which I think could be a reality with him, is that what you want? Drake May having to deal with that as he tries to develop and find his game?
Well, if you thought that you were going to go, if Drake May thought he was going to go his whole career without having a diva, whiny receiver, you're severely mistaken. Eventually, you're going to have to deal with a guy who's a little whiny. That's fine, right? Like, you're going to have to deal with that and be a leader and be a grown up. And if anyone can handle it, I trust Drake May. I trust Mike Vrabel to be able to keep it under wraps, right? And as for the 5-10 yards kind of guy, yeah, I kind of feel like he's just going to line up as a Z receiver, kind of get moved all over the field, and just be a chain mover. And that's already an upgrade as to what we have right now. If you can make the 7-yard, fin routes or quick slants or whatever the heck, he's still a great route runner, assuming that his ACL heals up, which apparently he's ahead of schedule, but we don't know. We can watch the workout videos on the Instagrams and say, wow, that's impressive, but we don't really know. But if he returns as a route runner and he's making 7 to 10 yard catches, moving the chains, that's already a huge step up from Jalen Polk dropping everything. Kayshawn Booty flashed, but I mean, he's like Theory of a Dead Man. He's like my hot take on Backstreet Boys. A few hit singles, not a good album. Whereas if Stefon Diggs is just a solid album that has no hit singles, fine. I'm fine with that. Just move the chains, make this a quasi-competent offense again, because we don't have that. We didn't have that. We haven't had that. Jacoby Myers might have been that, but we let him walk because we're dumb, or we were dumb.
Okay, so if I gave you 800 receiving yards for Stefon Diggs, would you go over or under?
I'm gonna go homer and go over, but even if it's a just for volume of targets, even if it's a push right at the 800 mark, he's probably our leading receiver. I don't think we've had an 800-yard receiver since Jacoby Myers, and even I would have to look up the stats, but I'm pretty sure that's about where he would sit. And at least that's something. It's something competent. If you look at the signings and the Harold Landry signings and everything, sometimes you just need to go for competence. And that's what we've lacked for the past couple of years. And we're not just throwing to Hunter Henry every time, hoping that he can come down with it.
That's fair. Do you think in the draft they still need to find a receiver in round 1 or 2? They got to find a way.
Probably. I wonder if they're ready to give up on Baker and Polk. I'm not sure I'm sold on that. Because if you just draft a guy in the 2nd or 3rd round, as much as I love the receiver class, and we've already kind of been over that, what's another guy in there? It's all of a sudden looking very crowded. And who's going to go? And if he's just going to be middling and competing with Polk and Baker and Bourne and Douglas, I'm just not sure that really helps you all that much. So maybe it's not this year they take a receiver. Maybe it's the year after. And next year's receiver class looks to be pretty talented as well.
Well, if you look at that contract, as Dave mentioned, you have the out after year 1. So the money looks really big on the screen, but in reality, it's very easy to get out of that contract and not take a big cap hit. So maybe not as...
hot take, and this could probably be a whole episode, but I'll just throw it out there. I think the cap is crap. You have to really mess up in order to get in cap hell, right? Like you have to pull a Russell Wilson type move to really put your team and just be really bad at cap management. And Elliott Wolf has been around the league for like 30 years, since he was 15 years old, helping his dad on the combine fields and at the Packers. As much as I disagree with some of his mentalities, he knows how to at least manage the books. So none of these big numbers that you see, except for maybe Milton Williams. Milton Williams would be a sign that maybe puts you in the hole, but then he's probably one of the more safer signings, right? So I think the cap is crap. None of these signings are going to put New England in cap hell. I'm not worried about any of that.
Well, as we've seen in years past, fan bases get really excited about free agency, especially the teams that make all the moves. And then once you actually get to the field and put it together, sometimes it just does not come to fruition. We saw that with the Philadelphia Eagles dream team. We saw that with the Cleveland Browns for a long time, winning the offseason. But then when it actually comes to play in the game, I think it's all about developing prospects in your own program so you don't have to dish out these massive deals. Hard to win through free agency, but with a team like New England where you have holes everywhere, you kind of have to. So those are our 5 winners, guys. Agree or disagree, tell us in the comments. Remember to like or subscribe, and we will be back on Wednesday with our losers portion of the free agency period. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Film Grinders podcast. Make sure to follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms. From me and the guys, thank you. We'll see you next time.